in the plant cell, in the plants, the exchange of gases takes place through stomata. Means by means of stomata the exchange of gases takes place in the plants, that is respiration takes place by means of stomata, and also by lenticel. Lenticels are found in the stems when the epidermis got died, and the stomata which is present in the epidermis is also died. That time respiration takes place by means of lenticels, and in the roots the respiration takes place by its surface, and this takes place by means of diffusion. This takes place by means of diffusion. So by means of diffusion the exchange of gases takes place in the plants. In the aquatic animals, in the aquatic animals, the aquatic animals takes the water dissolved oxygen, means they take the oxygen which is dissolved in the water dissolved oxygen, and is absorbed by the gills, and that is absorbed by the gills. And although it is a low activity, so the fishes respires quickly. So because it's a low activity, and some work has to be done to take the oxygen from the water, so a little amount of oxygen is coming, so it takes rapidly, so it takes quick respiration, means the respiration takes place in quickly. So respiration in the water is a low activity, so the fishes respires quickly. Now in the human being, the human takes the oxygen, that is air, in the human being takes the air through his nostril. The human takes the oxygen through his nostril. Then the air goes to lungs through the human takes the O2, that is air, through his nostril, and then the air goes to the lungs through pharynx, a common passage for the respiration and the digestive system, nutrition. Then larynx, it is also wax box, and trachea. By means of this following passage, the air goes to the lungs. Trachea is made of cartilage ring. This is made of cartilage ring because in absence of air, the trachea does not collapse. Means in absence of oxygen, that in absence of air, that it does not collapse. This is respiratory system, that is by means of nostril, the oxygen goes and passes through pharynx, larynx, and this is the trachea, and this trachea is of cartilaginous structures. Means by means of cartilage, because in the absence of oxygen it does not collapse, so it is the cartilage structures, cartilaginous. These are, you see that this is due to that it is made up of cartilaginous ring. Now the trachea is divided into two bronchi, one singular bronchus, one goes to each lungs, and now the bronchus, after entering into the lungs, is divided into so many branches, that is known as bronchioles, and that finally ends into sac-like structure which is called alveoli. So it is the structure of that, means that is larynx, and from that is trachea, which is cartilaginous, and now it divided into two bronchus, and that is the bronchi, and each bronchus divided into many bronchioles, and that ends in a sac-like structure which is called alveoli. Trachea is divided into two bronchi. This trachea is divided into two, and each bronchus goes to lungs, and each bronchus goes to the lungs, and in the lungs the bronchus divides into many bronchioles. These are divided into many bronchioles, which finally ends into sac-like structures called alveoli. Did you see the sac-like structures? They finally bronchioles ends into the sac-like structures which is called alveoli. Now the alveolar wall contain extensive network of blood. Alveolar wall contain extensive network of blood capillaries. Means this was alveolar structures, and this contains so many blood capillaries in the wall. The blood capillaries are found, and when the oxygen or air comes, the exchange of gases takes place. And because it's a sac-like structure, balloon-like structure, so it provides a surface for the exchange of gases. So because alveoli are sac-like structure, so it provides a greater surface area for the exchange of gases. So it's important structures which provides a surface for the exchange of gases. And now next so in that way the exchange of gases takes place. How the exchange of gases takes place? Now CO2 from the blood vessels diffuse to the alveoli, and oxygen from the alveoli diffuse to the blood vessels. So means exchange of gases takes place from this oxygen to blood vessels and CO2 from blood vessels to O2. In that way exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli. After division, when the oxygen entered to the blood in the blood respiratory pigment hemoglobin is present. The hemoglobin, the pigment is present. It absorbs the hemoglobin is present. It reacts the oxygen and change into oxyhemoglobin. Means it reacts with oxygen and change into oxyhemoglobin, and this oxyhemoglobin which carries the oxygen to each cell. Now each cell get oxygen by means of this hemoglobin. And next the CO2 which releases from the cells they are taken by blood plasma and because the CO2 is dissolved, is soluble in plasma, so the plasma absorbs the CO2 and carry it to the lungs, that is in the lungs. And now after diffusion, the CO2 enters into the alveoli, and finally, and after diffusion, CO2 enters the alveoli, and finally it is released out, and finally it is released out. So in this way the exchange of gases takes place. Means oxygen come to the alveoli, and from the alveoli by through diffusion it goes to the blood vessels, and through blood vessels where the hemoglobin accept it and change into oxyhemoglobin, and now it carries to its cell, and in the cell the CO2 is released out, which is taken by the blood plasma, and that plasma brings the CO2 to the lungs, and after diffusion it against to alveoli, and finally it is come out of the body. Now due to expansion of chest including diaphragm, the volume of the chest cavity is increased. Means the volume of the chest cavity is increased, then the air is entered to the alveoli, that is lungs, by means of trachea, entered to the alveoli, and where exchange of gases takes place. Exchange of gases takes place. Now after exchanging, the chest contracts, and it causes a pressure, which helps in the releasing of CO2, and by which the CO2 is released out. Thus inhalation of air, that is O2, and exhalation of air, that is CO2, is called breathing. Means the inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of CO2 is called what? Breathing, and which is a physical process. It is a physical process, and while respiration is a biochemical process.